On today's Star Wars Legends lore video, we count down the 5 most powerful ships to ever grace the galaxy. Hey guys, this is EckhartsLadder. Hello and welcome to another Star Wars Legends lore video. Now, this may be deja vu for some of you because for the first time, I've went back to an old video idea and am now remastering it. As many of you know, I started YouTube about a year ago. When I first started, I didn't have anything in the way of recording equipment or knowledge related to video or audio editing, so my early videos were a mess.
Hey guys, EckhartsLadder here today, bringing you some more Star Wars discussion. And today we're talking about one of the most interesting parts of the Legends and current canon, the unknown regions.
Let me know what you guys think about going back to some of my earlier content and remastering it with my new equipment, skills, and knowledge. I'll be updating not only audio and visuals, but also content where appropriate. With that being said, let's get into the list. Coming in at number 5 is probably my favorite designed ship in all of Star Wars, the Assertor class Super Stardestroyer. Admittedly, this ship does not see a lot of action within the Star Wars continuity. However, I think its real-world origins are fairly interesting. Artist Fractal Sponge, who I often reference in these videos, created this ship for a Star Wars reference book. He basically intended it to be the most powerful and practical warship in the Star Wars universe, and you can notice its gigantic size despite its relatively short length. Fractal Sponge even intended it to have a small super laser, and you can even see the aperture where the weapon would be fired from. Unfortunately or fortunately, depending on your perspective, his wishes never came about, and while the ship itself was canonized in various reference books, it was never the behemoth that he intended it to be. In fact, in Legends it was supposed to be less well armed than an Executor class Super Stardestroyer, despite being of similar tonnage. However, everything needs perspective. While the Assertor does fall behind the other behemoths on this list, it was still an incredible battleship. Its 15-kilometer length, almost uncountable amount of heavy weapons, along with its advanced sensors and other features, make the Assertor the 5th strongest ship in the Star Wars universe. Coming in at number 4 was the Empire's most famous Dreadnought, the Executor class Super Stardestroyer. The Executor doesn't have any secret weapon, no super laser, no special shielding tech, no black hole generator, nothing like that. Just sheer size and firepower. At 19 kilometers long, this ship was one of the largest ever seen by the Star Wars galaxy. Its introduction changed the face of naval warfare. A single Super Star Destroyer was a force in the galaxy. Post-Battle of Endor, warlords with access to these weapons remained dominant powers. The New Republic and other factions who fought the Empire were forced to build their own large vessels in order to survive space combat. The most impressive feature of the Executor was its firepower. With over 4,000 weapon systems, the Super Star Destroyer alone could stand down an entire fleet. Add to that almost unlimited storage and fighter capacity, and you can easily see why the Executor did not have a rival in the galaxy until post-galactic civil war. At number 3 is a ship meant to directly counter the Executor class Super Star Destroyer, the New Republic's Viscount class Star Defender. I'm going to keep my discussion of the Viscount relatively short because it's very simple. It was made to counter the Executor class Super Star Destroyer in key areas while surpassing it in others. The Viscount had a comparable number of weapons, but where it really stood out was in its shielding and its hull. Mon Calamari ships, even during the Galactic Civil War, were renowned for their very advanced, redundant shielding. This is something that was magnified in the Viscount, given that the ship was one of the only dedicated warships created by the Mon Calamari, and that the size of the vessel allowed for a good deal of power generation. The ship was also far more practical than the Executor, requiring less crew to man it, and also placing more of a focus on starfighter defense. Honestly, we know just how practical and effective smaller Mon Calamari cruisers were. Giving them 17 kilometers of dedicated warship is only going to end with success. The Viscount was key in not only fighting the various Imperial remnant factions throughout the galaxy, but also for surviving the Yuuzhan Vong invasion. Coming in at number 2 is a relatively obscure ship, the Sovereign class Super Star Destroyer. This ship was basically a mini Eclipse Dreadnought. Its main weapon was an axial super laser, while it also possessed, for its size, a neutered turbo laser system. I held off including various other smaller ships which are basically built around super weapons, but I think there's no denying that the Sovereign is a very dangerous vessel. The super laser on its own is devastating enough to one-shot any other capital ship. When you combine that with 15 kilometers of weapons and armor, then you've got a really dangerous thing going on. The Sovereign also has interdiction gravity well generators, which prevents enemies from jumping through hyperspace, and would likely carry a large complement of starfighters. Really, the only thing about the Sovereign is it hasn't appeared in any substantial way in Star Wars Legends, only in reference books. We haven't even seen an official image of the ship, so keep that in mind. Number 1 is the Sovereign's bigger brother, the Eclipse class Super Stardestroyer, which first appeared in the Dark Empire series. There were actually 2 versions of the Eclipse, although the differences are fairly minor and appear to be mostly aesthetic. Like the Sovereign, the main selling point of the Eclipse is its axial super laser. Although not as powerful as the weapon of the Death Star, the super laser is still enough to take down any enemy capital ship and inflict serious damage on a world. The Eclipse 1 and 2 served as the flagships for the reborn Emperor Palpatine, and you know that Palpatine would only choose the best of the best to serve as his mobile command center. Although not as long as an Executor class Super Star Destroyer, the Eclipse was far more massive. It was covered in extremely heavy weapons and took with it state-of-the-art droid starfighters. The Eclipse was not without weakness. The sheer size of the vessel and the presence of the super laser meant that when facing multiple enemies it was seriously gimped. Its engines are also relatively small, and while perhaps it's not the best ship in the Star Wars universe, it is clearly the most powerful. In a one-on-one battle, I don't think there's any ship I would take over the Eclipse. It's so heavily armored, it's got that super laser, and it has a pile of traditional weaponry. It's really nothing that you want to mess with. For that reason, it gets the number 1 spot on this list. Anyway guys, that is the top 5. I do want to give a special thank to Man Person, who I'm working with to model some ships for an upcoming video series. He created that model of the Eclipse that I used throughout this video. I hope that going back to an old video idea was okay with you guys and that you enjoyed this. Don't forget to let me know what sort of content you'd like to see me remaster in the future. Anyway, thank you for watching. As always, this has been EckhartsLadder. May the Force be with you.